America. This is the President of the United States. You are listening to George Galloway and the mother of all talk shows. George is a Scotsman. Unlike me, an Irishman. Enjoy.
Welcome to the mother of all talk shows with me, George Galloway, coming to you from a sunny London town where it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Good morning to everyone in the tri-state area listening to WBAI, as all sensible people who are able to do so at this hour really ought to be doing. Now, what else to talk about other than the sight and sound of anti-American fury raging from one end of the Muslim world to the other? What was it about the video trailer of a non-existent film, or was that just the last straw that broke the camel's back? The murder of the American diplomat in Benghazi in Libya is particularly obscene and particularly ironic, because the very people that murdered your ambassador are the people that you helped to put into power in Libya. The same kind of people that you're trying to put into power in Syria. The same kind of people you previously put into power in Afghanistan, out of which came Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, who harmed you so grotesquely on 9/11/2001, killing thousands of your people. It was then a metaphor for the Frankenstein monster that you create, and then you realize why he's called a monster. Then a period of a decade or so in which all the blows being struck by these crazed extremists were struck against you and your allies. And now you're back in bed with them? What's that about? That's what I'm asking, as of course I'm always asking how the American presidential race is going. I've just been listening to Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! About the latest imbroglio involving Mitt Romney. May God ensure that he does not get his finger on the button. But hey, who am I to speak? I'm just a Johnny foreigner in your country. But it turns out one with quite a bit of a following. And this show is generating a fantastic amount of mail. If you want to write to me at gallowayg@parliament.uk, or follow me on Twitter at George Galloway, or on Facebook at George Galloway MP. We're getting closer to 100,000 people now on each of those two platforms. And of course, there's always YouTube, where amongst the dross, you'll find some things worth watching. Just type in my name and see what comes up. Well, I need to take your calls. I normally am utterly dependent on the unbelievably talented Aoife, who's out today, but the equally talented, I'm assured, Tony is fielding the calls. So it's 212-209-2900. That's 212-209-2900. You can call me to join the mother of all talk shows. Tony, do we have a first call?
Yes, we do. Alejandro out of Brooklyn, New York.
Alejandro in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome to the show, my friend. What would you like to say?
Hello, George Galloway.
Hi.
You're one of the greatest politicians alive now.
Thank you, Habibi. Thank you.
I like how you distinct Zionism from Judaism. Both are completely separate.
Indeed.
Yeah.
They're absolutely
Zionism
separate.
Is
and somebody like me, who is attacked, of course, virulently by supporters of the Zionist State of Israel, a European colonialist enterprise, a settler state, frequently reach for the allegation of anti-Semitism, but nothing, of course, could be further from the truth. Indeed, a moment's thought would
Zionism was an outbreak of anti-Semitism in Europe.
Indeed, it's the other side of the coin of anti-Semitism. It accepts the basic premise of anti-Semitism, that the Jews are other, that the Jews are alien, that they must leave our countries and go and live in somebody else's country. And this is something I completely reject. But I was just going to make the point, Alejandro. A moment's thought would make clear, how could someone like me be an anti-Semite? A person who has fought racism of all kinds all of my life.
There are many Jews that oppose the state of Israel. Joe Slovo, Rabbi Weiss, and another one, Stephen Ledman. You know him? Stephen Lendman, he's a Jew. He opposes Israel. He supports Palestine.
No, I don't know him, but I know Rabbi Weiss very well. I've traveled with him, and he's been a guest on this show many times.
And Joe Slovo.
Of course,
you know Joe
there are many Jews who are amongst the fiercest critics of the crimes of the State of Israel.
But not just
Alejandro,
that.
thanks very much for that call. Tony, do we have a second one?
Yes, we do. We have E from Kings County, New York.
E, welcome back from Kings County. Go ahead, sir.
Good day to you, Mr. Galloway. I know I'm
Great to hear from you as always.
Topic. Yes, thank you. I know I'm a little off topic, but I didn't get a chance to mention it last week. I did maintenance and security at the 9/11 for Truth Symposium, the architects and engineers and everything. It was like a film, symposium thing that they had. It was. I wish you were there.
Yeah.
It was very educational. We had Barbara Honegger there, Susan Lindauer, people of that caliber coming in. Mr. Richard Gage, of course, and and I just felt like if you were there to present your perspective and the way you see things, it would have made like a complete conference. It was like a Q&A. And there was no running from questions permitted. It was whatever you wanted to ask, whatever you wanted to say. It was great, and I really wish that you somehow.
Well, that's what I'm in favor of. Let the chips fall where they may. Let's have a proper investigation into 9/11, and let the chips fall where they may. I did a podcast on. You see it on YouTube on the Molucca Red channel, MOLUCCA. Second word, Red, Molucca Red channel.
Okay,
I think it's my 7th podcast, and it's on 9/11 on this very subject.
Okay, I'm going to look for that.
Okay, bro, thanks for that. Tony, we got a third call?
Yes, we do. We have David out of Manhattan.
David in Manhattan, welcome to the show, my friend. What would you like to say?
I'd like to talk about poverty in America.
Go ahead, sir.
Are you aware of Robert Reich's plan from his 2010 book, Aftershock?
I'm not. Please briefly enlighten me.
He says to raise taxes on the top 5% by like 10 to 20% extra now, and that extra money would bring in $600 billion, and he would give those people earning less than $20,000 a year an extra $15,000 that earned income tax credit.
Well, look, that's the direction of travel that we should be embarked upon. I'm not sure that you can go that far or you can go further. That's really a judgment that the left in the United States has to make in terms of formulating its programmatic demands on American capitalism, which should be in the direction of change and should be in the direction of more and more equality. As a matter of theory, I'm a follower of Aristotle's rubric that the richest of us should not be more than 3 times richer than the poorest of us, and that the last man always needs to be able to see the first man, and the first man always needs to be able to see the last man. And man embraces woman, of course, in that rubric. So that's my view on that, and I'm grateful to you for the call. This is George Galloway. This is the mother of all talk shows. This is WBAI. Now, Tony, do we have a fourth call?
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. I was on the phone with a couple of calls. You have quite a few phone calls. Let me see. We got John from New Jersey coming up right now.
Okay, thanks, John in New Jersey, and hi to all my friends in New Jersey, including a new one I made just this very morning on Facebook. Go ahead, sir.
I just have a basic question. My grandfather was from Crete, and during World War II, the English were providing provisions to Crete, and they sent them boots, only the left boot. Now, I watched the English on the TV a couple of times, and they seem to have a warped sense of humor. What do you know about it?
Well, everyone's sense of humor can seem warped to another. That seems particularly warped to me, sending left boots to soldiers in action, on whom we were grateful to depend when they, belatedly, but nonetheless welcome, came to our side in the fight against Hitler fascism. I honor and respect all the American veterans and their families who fought the great anti-fascist war, and indeed the Red Army and all of their families who did even more to defeat Hitler fascism. But yeah, you're right. If you'll forgive the pun, humor is a funny thing. Tony, let's go to the fifth call.
I'm
Tony?
sorry about that. I mean, these phones are lighting up like crazy. Let me see. We have
by the
Steve.
grace of God. Excellent.
Excellent. Steve from Central Valley is right on
Steve in
there.
Central Valley, welcome to the show, my friend. What would you like to say?
Hey, George, how are you? I'd like
I'm
to
well,
kinda,
sir, thanks.
Good. I'd like to expand on your earlier point regarding the unrest in the Middle East.
Yes.
And I'm definitely of the opinion that this is the straw that broke the camel's back. And when you think about it, you kind of listen to a lot of the right-wing talk shows, radio hosts here in America, and I know fascism is certainly not a word that you use lightly, but if you listen to the talk show crowd, they're making it like the problems that we're seeing now, the social unrest, et cetera, is due to the president's weakness, that America has to continue to flex its military strength, and somehow this massive social upheaval and anger towards America is singularly a result of what I consider a really, really bad movie. I saw it, by the way, and it was certainly anti-Islam. But the fact of the matter is, nobody says anything about the fact that we've murdered and slaughtered hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians in Iraq. Everybody is going bananas over the fact that 3 Americans were tragically killed, and they're already kind of sounding the alarms of calls for revenge, for going in and indiscriminately bombing. And I just think, as an American, it's become very, very frustrating to see my country kind of be led down this path over and over again. And getting back to my first comment about fascism, you know, they're rallying behind the fact that these people hate us for our freedom. They're burning our flags. See what they do. We go in, we liberate them, and how do they show their
How
gratitude?
do they repay us?
Yeah. See how they repay us.
It would be funny if it weren't tragic. Let's go back to the beginning. I acknowledged a moment ago the tremendous sacrifice and heroism of the American people in the great anti-fascist war, which finished in 1945. The problem is neither your country nor mine has fired an honorable shot since. Every shot that they've fired has been against the very principles that we claim to uphold. It has been in defense of empire, of one kind or another, in one theater after another. And the number of countries that have been attacked or invaded or occupied by the United States, usually with Britain in the tail, in the case of Vietnam not, is more than 50. More than 50 countries in just over 60 years, nearly 70 years. It's quite a dismal record. And when I hear people in my own country and in yours say, why do they hate us? I don't know whether to laugh or cry. These people are either too stupid to know that the reason that they hate us is the role that our countries have played in theirs and in the subjugation of them, in the backing of dictatorship, which has its iron heel on their necks, or we don't know that by supporting countries like Israel in their endless persecution of the Palestinian people, the wiping of Palestine off the map, the scattering to the 4 corners of the earth of the people of Palestine. They're either too stupid to know that or too venal to be able to walk in the other fellow's shoes, too venal to feel any empathy for the suffering of other people, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I will say just one final point, and maybe you could expand on it. But what's frightening is I'm very confident that a lot of the right-wing talk show radio crowd, like Sean Hannity as an example, are way too smart to really believe that this murder and burning of an embassy in Libya was something that just came out of nothing. That it was it was just.
Well, I don't know, Sean Hannity. I do know that I challenged him to come on the radio with me once, and he ran away like a scared rabbit. And I issue that challenge again right now through the airwaves of WBAI. But you might be right in his case, but there are others that I think you're wrong about. They're just not smart. I mean, I was once on Bill O'Reilly's show. It's got quite a big number of hits on YouTube. And I formed the view that he was indeed stupid. I'm not sure how he manages to command a primetime television show other than his bigoted hatred and racism, which is dripping from every pore in his miserable face. Thanks very much indeed for that call. Tony, do we have another?
Yes, we do. And I was laughing here in the studio about the scared rabbit.
Yeah, Hannity, I challenged him live. I challenged him. Come on the phone now. And he was listening, but he wouldn't come on the phone.
But aren't you insulting?
Like most bullies, Tony, at heart, he's a coward. These people get their platform and they beat up the most vulnerable, the most defenseless. They beat up the weakest in our society and in the societies of others. But as we say, if you'll forgive it, in British parlance, they don't like it up them. They don't like it up them. They like sticking it up other people, the bayonet, I mean. But they don't like it themselves, and they're not prepared to risk it themselves. And I'm a short sword fighter, and I'll fight any of these people anytime. Go ahead, Tone.
All right.
Give me the next one.
Next one is going to be Mohammed out of Staten Island.
Mohammed in Staten Island, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, good morning, George. This is Mohammed.
Good morning to you, brother.
Island. How are you doing? First of all, I
Alhamdulillah, by the grace of God. Go ahead.
Being elected as a member of Parliament.
Thank you.
Secondly, I want to get your view about the Blessmist, the trailer of the movie, which is on the YouTube these days, and the whole entire Muslim world is outraged. You probably have seen that on different media.
I haven't watched it, but of course I'm deeply concerned about the events that have followed.
My question is, why we are being, I'm a United States citizen, I'm living here for a while, why we have been not understanding the sentiments and, the emotions of the people of the other religions, and is that the culture, or isn't it there a double standard while we're talking about the Holocaust or something? We have a legislation like nobody can talk about the Holocaust. It's a law, right? I think it's in your country too.
No, it's not in our country, but I support a law that denying the Holocaust should be a crime. The Holocaust is the greatest crime of the 20th century, one of the greatest crimes, if not the greatest crime of all human history, and it ought to be a crime to deny it. But of course there's a double standard. You can say anything you like about Muslims. Indeed, some of the most quote-unquote respectable people do. It's the last quote-unquote acceptable form of racism. And they just don't get it. They don't understand the reverence for the Prophet Muhammad that the Muslim people, nearly 2 billion of them, feel. But as I've said many times, I say it again now, if it were only for a dirty little video that is a trailer for a non-existent film, which can't possibly harm a faith so strong as Islam, can't possibly dent the reputation of someone like the Prophet Muhammad, then this trouble wouldn't be happening. It's because this is the last straw that broke the camel's back, because it's on top of Abu Ghraib, of Bagram Air Base, of the invasion and occupation of Iraq, of the invasion and occupation of Afghanistan, of the drone attacks against the people of Pakistan and Somalia and Yemen and other places, is because we over and over again have invaded and occupied Muslim countries, supported dictatorships in Muslim countries, supported the crimes against the Palestinian people. It's because this video comes as the last straw on top of all of that, Mohammed.
Yeah, but George, don't you think that we should have a law, worldwide to be, don't be, harm any religion at all?
Well, I personally am in favor of that law. I don't think that people should insult other people's religions. no good can come of it. A lot of hurt and harm can come of it. Religion is something at the core of human identity, and people should not willy-nilly traduce it. But the one thing that you can say, it can't be right, surely, that it's a crime to insult some people's religions, but not a crime to insult others. Mohammed, thanks for your call. Tony, do we have another one?
Yes, we do. We have Ron out of Buffalo, New York.
Ron in Buffalo, welcome to the show. What would you like to say, my friend?
Oh, yeah, I was just curious about this thing with the film. You know, now, am I crazy? A lot of people think, because I'm of a very conspiratorial mindset here, but, you know, this is a little bit more than something appearing on YouTube. It appears on YouTube, I think as far back as the spring, and didn't seem to gather too much opposition. Then, just a few weeks ago, some group, and it's still a little bit obscure, funds the, I guess, put it on the DVDs
translation
and they bring
Arabic.
it into, yes, and they overdub it, and then they put it in a, they make sure that it gets heavily into Libya, which is not very internet connected yet because of the infrastructure damage, and they give it to the Coptic Christians in Libya and Egypt, and then of course it becomes passed on hand to hand, and the Islamic people get wind of it. Who would do this, and for what reason? My theory is, and I just want you to comment, is that either a radical right-wing private group, somebody maybe like a Karl Rove connected group or a Koch brothers connected group, or perhaps even groups within the national security structure in the United States that did this during this election cycle to try to make it look like Obama is weak and to cause trouble. Now, it's only because what we do know about it is there was $25 million paid from some groups to push this into these areas, which are just ferment with new governments and with Islamic fundamentalist groups. You're going to get a bad reaction. Who would do this, and what would you gain by doing this other than to try to embarrass the Obama administration during an election cycle? Do you agree with that?
Look,
do you think there's any merit, or am I just
I've not
crazy?
heard that figure of $25 million before. I must tell you that I very much doubt it. Doesn't look like a $25 million operation to me. It doesn't take much, doesn't take tuppence halfpenny or 2.5 cents to translate something into Arabic. It doesn't cost anything to put it on YouTube. And of course, it's guaranteed to light the touch paper, and then some people retire. Who those people are, I don't know. I cannot imagine that the national security apparatus of the United States did so. I can't imagine that anyone thinks President Obama is weak. I don't know how you can call weak somebody who's killed thousands of Muslims in the last 4 years
playing in the United States
with drone attacks. Somebody who's threatening to launch a new war against yet another Muslim country, Iran. The problem is not that Obama is too weak. The problem that he's killing far too many people. And any new killing that he does as a result of this Libya imbroglio will only make matters worse. So I really doubt that anyone with the United States security interest at heart would have done this. And of course, it appears at this stage that the whole operation is a fundamentalist Christian operation and fundamentalist Christian operation. And that I can understand because I know their mindset. I know they want to bring about Armageddon. The followers of Mitt Romney literally want us to get to Armageddon as quickly as possible because they believe that only then will Jesus return to the earth, at which point the Jews will have to convert or be killed. How's that for anti-Semitism? Anyway, thanks for your call. Tony, do we have another?
Yes, we do. We have Aisha out of Harlem, New York.
How fabulous. Aisha, écoutez-moi, in Harlem, New York. Go ahead.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I have two questions. One, if you were an American, where would you, because of the craziness that's happening here, where would a safe house be for you and your family out of the United States of America? And number two, Prophet Muhammad, and peace and blessing be upon him, he had people, a woman who would say to her garbage, and as she would come by her place, she would throw garbage and curse him. And then when she got sick, he went by there and he had to say, where's the woman? He went there to pray for her, and she became Muslim. I mean, so I don't understand we as Muslims not having enough understanding as to his way of life.
Well, I do think that one has to bear insult as far as one can, and insult by word or by the kind of action that you describe, and I'm familiar with this hadith, ought to be treated in the way that the Prophet treated it. And so far as possible, if everyone followed the example in life of the life of the Prophet, then the world would be a better place. I have no doubt about that. Indeed, all the prophets. But it's the fact that this is the straw on the camel's back that is the issue. It's these American embassies are not on fire. These flags are not on fire. These American diplomats are not being attacked just because of an insult, just because of a video. It comes out of the same outrage that exists and has been slow burning these last years across the Muslim world. And these kind of manifestations of hatred and rage, whilst deplorable, are entirely understandable if you know anything about the recent history of your country and mine in the Muslim world. Aisha.
I had another question, sir.
Go ahead.
I had asked you if you were an American citizen, where would you, and because of the United Snakes of America is in such a scramble of trying to just living, where would a safe place be for you and your family outside of the United Snakes of America?
I think everyone should stay in the United States of America. Nobody should leave America to these savage beasts of the American right. That would be a mistake. If the good people leave America, the bad people will find it even more easy to prevail. You have to make sure you create your own safe haven. I don't believe that Muslims are in danger in general in the United States. I don't believe that good people are in danger in the United States. There are millions upon millions of good people in the United States. They have to combine together to make things better in their country. Aisha, thanks for the call. Tony, let's go on to the next one.
Yes, we do. We have Sean out of Wasake, New York, on the line.
Sean, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Galloway. How are you, sir?
By the grace of God, I'm good. Thank you.
That's great. I got to say that I enjoy and agree with probably most everything you say, and I appreciate the very.
Is there a but? Is there a but coming here?
There's no but coming. No but.
Okay,
right?
Brother.
That'll bring rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. So no buts.
Okay, bro.
But this is a thing that hits me personally when I see. I practice Islam also. But my issue with those who are practicing it in the Middle East are, they can get upset over that, but they can't get upset over their brothers over here in our communities selling crack pipe apparatus, selling ham, selling beer, where they would get their hands cut off in their own country. I think they have a serious double standard. Now, it was insulting to them, and I understand that, because it would be. I didn't take it as insulting because I understand, people have two selves, a higher and a lower, and they were just in their lower selves. But I do also understand that there's a serious double standard. I've been reading a lot of information because I had a lot of support for Colonel Gaddafi, and I thought it was wrong what happened to him and how it was done. But I'm reading little things about how his daughter's son burned an Ethiopian maid, scalded her with hot water, how his son's wife did that. And I'm reading other little atrocities that have happened, and I'm wondering, I'm looking at them going gambling in other countries, drinking, smoking, but there's no outcry amongst the Islamic community about that. I don't do it.
Well, there is. I can assure you. I don't know about these incidences in the United States that you talk of. I expect that most Muslims in the Middle East have no idea about them either. They've got more than enough problems with what the United States is doing in their countries to worry about what's happening down on the street in the less salubrious areas of the United States.
Yes, sir.
But Gaddafi and his crew were a brutal dictatorship. They were hardly paragons of Islam. I don't think that it's true that they gambled and drank alcohol. I never met any of them, so I can't vouch for that entirely. But their crimes were much greater than that. They routinely tortured people. They routinely exiled people. They murdered people in exile. They wasted trillions. Well, let me scale that down. They wasted hundreds of billions of dollars of their country's wealth, which God gave them. And if the small population of Libya had fairly shared in the wealth of Libya, then every Libyan on earth would be a multimillionaire. But that's very far from being true. And the public realm would look like Dubai rather than a very, very much poorer area that you've seen on your television. So I'm glad the Gaddafis are no longer in power in Libya.
I agree.
But that doesn't mean I supported the way that they were overthrown and the people who overthrew them. Neither does it mean, and I can assure you of this, neither does that mean that I think the people now running Libya are better than Gaddafi. I don't.
Listen, I would subscribe to your newsletter. Like I said, I agree with most everything you say.
Yeah.
But I just had an issue with that because we speak, and you're right, how it was done was wrong. But I just want, and there is video of what I was just talking about, just so you know, not specifically with Gaddafi's family. But see, that's the thing about Islam. See, when people see individuals who practice Islam, they blanket everyone for the
Sure,
deeds
well,
of
you'd be
one.
better to look not at the Gaddafis in that respect, whose crimes were greater even than that, but the crimes of the people running what they call Saudi Arabia. They definitely gamble. I could take you now to a London casino in broad daylight where it will be full of Saudis practicing Islam 5 times a day, praying, fasting, making Hajj and so on, but who are standing at the roulette tables now, gambling more in an afternoon than would keep Muslim families anywhere for years.
Incredible.
They are the worst of hypocrites.
Wow.
You know the contempt for the sin of hypocrisy that Islam feels and holds. And these muwafakin are very, very contemptible people. But again, their personal behavior, whilst reprehensible, is not nearly as bad as their public behavior. It's their public behavior that we should concentrate on, I think. Sean, thanks for the call. Tony, do we have another?
Yes, we do. Let me go to Lauren out of Brooklyn, New York.
Lauren in Brooklyn, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mr. Galloway. I want to talk about Libya and the groups, the different groups that we funded over the past 40 years.
Yes, although we used to torture them, we used to send them to Gaddafi to be tortured by illegal rendition.
Yeah, and it turned out that Gaddafi treated them better than our CIA did. I mean, that's funny.
Well, certainly just as badly.
Well, of course, but but we funded Al Qaeda. We trained Al Qaeda to go into Libya and topple Gaddafi. Same thing. What we're doing with Syria, and same thing we did with Afghanistan. And I don't know. Does our government want these people to come back and attack us? Is that the plan? Is that the grand plan? Because it seems like
I don't know, but if you look at the blowback which you've already suffered from your patronage of these fanatic jihadist extremist groups, it beggars imagination that you are once again back in bed with them and frolicking in Syria, in Libya before it, and if they can get away with it, I have no doubt in Iran next. I have no doubt at all that the United States and Britain would be ready to send Al-Qaeda into Iran, maybe already have.
Yes, they do. They already have extremist groups in Iran, and apparently Israel and America, Mossad and the CIA are funding them.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't at all be surprised about that. Not at all. And I don't know why the American people don't rise up against that.
I don't know.
After what they did to you, you're giving them more guns, more money?
It doesn't make any sense.
It's completely
we could
unbelievable.
use that money.
All I can say is the best explanation is that they didn't read Frankenstein to the end. If they did, they'd know that once Dr. Frankenstein made his monster, he lost control of it, because that's why it's a monster. That's the best explanation. The worst explanation doesn't bear thinking of. Anyway, thanks for that call. Tony, any more?
Yes, we do. Let me go to Maryland. I think she said her name was, out of Brooklyn, New York. She's on the line.
Tony, Marilyn in New York, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I just have an observation I wanted to share with you and see what your take on it is. I appreciate your analysis of the meaning of these uprisings, but and I think that's I wish it were true, but here's what I think. For example, when the protests happened in Afghanistan after the burning of the Qurans, if you recall, that must have been last year sometime or earlier this year. These came a couple days after the U.S. forces had bombed us at home, and I think something like 13 women and children and people, other men. I don't know who they were, but civilians were decimated by these bombs. And
we massacred 8 women in Afghanistan this very week.
I'm just saying that the protests don't happen when the people, when civilians get bombed like that by the United States.
Well, that's right.
And
that's
then
right.
the protests come when the Quran is burned, and it makes me wonder.
There's a feeling in the Muslim world that attacks upon the Prophet are more serious even than the massacre of innocents in which we're involved. That's true.
Well, I know. I take that to be true. I also have the question of the people who are organizing the protests. I wonder who they are, because why don't they organize protests against the massacre of civilians?
Well, let me. I think they do, but perhaps that doesn't get the coverage in Western
locally
media
they will,
that this does. I'll tell you what I'll do, Madeline. I commend to you at guardian.co.uk an article by my friend Seamus Milne this very day, so in today's edition of The Guardian, on this very subject. Everyone should go and read that. He's the best writer on these matters in England. Seamus Milne, Seumas, second name Milne, in The Guardian. That's at guardian.co.uk. Tony, let's press on. What do we have next?
We have Fidel out of Manhattan over on the west side.
How can I resist someone called Fidel on the west side? Go ahead, Fidel.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I believe that the Republicans and the right wing have a big target on their back, and I don't disagree with anything or your characterization of this group. However, how do you square a progressive president signing a bill such as the National Defense Authorization Act?
Let me stop you there, Fidel. I don't consider him to be a progressive president. I just consider him to be less reactionary and less of a danger to America and the world than the big plank of wood called Mitt Romney that's standing against him.
Okay, but there are other people that are running, and there have been.
But they don't have a chance of winning, Fidel.
Well,
you know that the only winners are Romney or Obama.
But isn't there a fear of continuing the same cycle of lesser evil?
But we have to deal with that after November this year, brother.
It's always
we can't deal with that between now and November. Between now and November, we have to concentrate on not being landed with one of the most dangerous men I've ever seen. I mean, it's George Bush revisited. I mean, the choice is clear. It is Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but Tweedledum is uglier and more stupid than Tweedledee.
But then what happens to the public that we have had other candidates for over a year that have wanted to be in this race, and the public is asleep? The same thing happens in Occupy. You know, I've been a part of Occupy since its inception, and it just burns me to see the lack of turnout and the lack of desire from the people, and then everybody
well,
just
that's our
like
job,
a bunch
Fidel.
of
We've
seals,
got to wake them up, man.
and like a bunch of
There's no point
seals.
in blaming the people. We can't abolish the people and elect a new one. We have to deal with the
you're
people
right,
we've got.
but then what is the dynamic? I
I'm
don't
doing
get
my
it.
best. I'm doing my best. I'm shouting myself hoarse on radio,
Well,
television,
I
on
think we
public
need to do
platforms,
more, though.
marches, demonstrations, parliament.
Yeah, I just think
I'm doing
we
my
need to
best
do
to
more.
wake them up, bro.
Yeah,
We have to
so
wake
am
them
I.
up. There's no point in reproaching them. We have to reproach ourselves. We must be doing something wrong.
That's
Tony, what do we have
agree.
next? Tony,
Yes, sir.
give me another one, bro.
All right, we're going to go with Jonathan, who's at Brooklyn, New York. Bed-Stuy.
Plenty of Brooklyn today. Brilliant. Jonathan in Brooklyn, welcome to the show.
Mr. Galloway, good morning. First
Good
of
morning,
all,
sir.
I would like to say that I have tremendous regard and respect for your intellect, for your knowledge, and for your courage. I truly think that, in my estimation, you would be what would be considered in Bible times a prophet. Anyway,
Well, thank
I
you,
agree
sir. I'm
with-
not a prophet, but I'm doing my best to tell the truth and to waken up others to the truth. But it's a very, very kind thing for you to say.
You are a public expounder of the facts, and I think that's basically the definition of prophet.
Okay. I just don't want it to be said that I called myself a prophet.
Okay. Now listen, I agree with virtually everything you say, with one exception. The question of 9/11. Generally, in a discussion of 9/11, you take the position that you don't believe that, the United States government or anyone in the United States government would be, complicit in the deaths of 3,000 American citizens. And I beg to differ.
And not because I think they're above that. I know that they'd kill 3,000, 30,000, 300,000 of their own citizens if it suited their political purpose. I think your ruling class is amongst the most murderous on the earth and that we've ever seen. So it's not because I think they're morally above it. It's because I think the risk of exposure of a conspiracy of that size and of that significance would destroy the entire system in the United States, and they wouldn't have to take that risk. They didn't need to take that risk. I explain all this at length in my podcast on the Molucca Red channel, which you'll find on YouTube. It's my 7th podcast on this very subject, 9/11, whose conspiracy. But I do support a full inquiry into the events of 9/11. I think the official inquiry is a pitiful excuse for an inquiry. It leaves more questions than it answers. So I'm in favor of an inquiry, and let the chips fall where they may. Let's have a proper inquiry and see what is revealed by it. Surely we can agree on that one, no?
Okay, now my question to you would be then, if they're quite capable of killing 1 million Iraqis, 2 million Vietnamese, hundreds of thousands of Iranians by imposing the Shah on them, by doing the same thing in Egypt, imposing Mubarak on them, why do you think? Why would you think that the risk of exposure would be any less? Why would?
Well, because people don't care about the deaths of all the people you have just adumbrated. The people in Britain and America don't even know, and insofar as they know, they don't care about the fact that hundreds of thousands of Iranians perished because we imposed the Shah in a coup d'etat in 1953. They don't care that we killed 1 million Iraqis. They don't care that we killed an uncountable number of Afghans. But they would care if they thought the American government had killed 3,000 Americans. That's the difference. You can see that, I'm sure.
I understand your perspective now. Thank you
Okay,
very
brother.
much.
Let's
You're doing a
agree
hell
that
of a
we
job.
have a proper inquiry. Let's fight for a proper inquiry. Reopen the inquiry into 9/11. On that, we can both agree.
He's gone.
Okay. Thanks for that, Tony. What do we have next?
We have IU out of Manhattan.
Are you in Manhattan? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. You're a great man. Listen, I will share the concerns of Aisha and Sean. And I would like to say this. First of all, I think if Muslims, most of them the intellectual and the young who live in the West, listen to your show and participate, that will help, I think. Now, listen, it's ironic that this is happening. This outrage started in what I call the three states area. With exception to Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt, I think are well-educated and civilized people. And if a Muslim world could be moved any time when any stupid man make a movie, well, this man actually could have made this movie from Thailand, from Hong Kong. So we'll go to Hong Kong and kill the ambassador. I don't think that's the right approach. We have
Of course, it's not the right approach. I'm very sorry that the American ambassador was killed. I'm not in favor of killing ambassadors or burning embassies or even expelling diplomats. I think we need to keep diplomatic channels open when we have problems, not close them. So I feel very sorry about the murder of the American ambassador. I just make the point that he was murdered by the very people that we, first of all, used to send to Gaddafi to be tortured, and then we bombed Libya in order to put them in power.
That's fine, but I'm talking about the others. As I said, with exception to Libya, I'm talking about Tunisia, Egypt, and other people.
Well, I don't think there's been anything like these outrages in Tunisia. But in Egypt, we supported the dictatorship of Hosni Mubarak for more than 30 years. And in supporting that dictatorship, we generated a vast reservoir of anti-Western hatred.
But for me, no matter what, it's time for the Muslim world to calm it down and to play it smart. People are...
I'm all in favor of being calm and being smart, brother. I'm all in favor of that.
No, I'm not talking to you. I know you're a great man.
No, I'm in favor of the Muslims being calm and being smart. I'm in favor of that.
That's what I expect them to do from now on, and to completely focus on educating their people. And one day, I'm telling you, if we have just 10 to 15 really democratic governments, France, United States, Great Britain will be in real trouble. That's why.
Okay, brother, thanks for that call. Let's take what will probably be the last call, Tony.
All right. Well, we got Jeremiah out of Washington Heights, New York.
Always a pleasure, Jeremiah. Welcome.
It's always a pleasure. I can't resist but call your show. It's like a highlight of my week, Mr. Galloway.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
But I just wanted to say, as a person, I don't know how I would define myself spiritually. I just have an enormous spiritual feeling about life. I don't really believe anybody who cites a particular book or claims to have any particular access to the divine. I think we're all divine. I think the entire planet Earth is sacred. I think, I believe in all that universal love and all of that kind of stuff. So I do not define myself as an atheist because I don't think, for one thing, I don't think atheism is a belief system, just like I think not collecting stamps isn't a hobby.
Very good. Very good, Jeremiah.
But, I do think, I just find it so bothersome that, people are allowed to, in policy-making life, especially here in fundamentalist America, are allowed to parade just abstract, unfounded beliefs and that then are trusted to make decisions, I mean, you can believe whatever you want, but, a lot of these books, they say Islam is a religion of peace. I don't really think so based on the track record, and neither is Christianity.
It is a particularly American problem. There's no doubt, Jeremiah, it's a particularly American problem. I mean, I have a low opinion of the British political class, but when I look at the American political class, it simply astounds me that Mitt Romney could be the best that the American ruling class could put up for president. It's astounding. When I hear and see and read some of the things that American politicians say and do, it's astonishing to me. And it seems that in some places all you've got to do is parade your bigotry and wear your religion on your sleeve, and you'll be elected to office, and you'll be helping to run the most powerful country for now on the earth, though not for much longer, I must tell you. But what can I say? We have to deal with the situation that we have. And as I said to an earlier caller, we have to reproach ourselves. If the people have not been persuaded by us There's no point. We can't abolish them and elect a new one. We have to reproach ourselves and analyze ourselves and our own work because we haven't, when I saw the great state of California governed, I think for 2 terms, by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
With record voter turnout, as a matter of fact. Record turnout
really?
By males
Really?
between the age of 18 and 35.
I see people holding powerful positions in the United States that wouldn't be elected to a local parish council here. They can't even speak properly. They seem to speak in tongues, so far as I'm concerned. But hey, the people voted for them. And the people have to be persuaded to vote for better people, better things. That's really all I can say. I think I've run out of time now, Tony, have I?
You got maybe 3 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, let's take a last call. Go ahead.
You want to take a last call? This one's on the fly, so pardon me. Go ahead.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. You're on the air.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Go on. You're on the air. This is George Galloway. It's the mother of all talk.
Hold on, George. Hold on, George. Caller, turn your radio down and don't listen to the radio. Listen to the phone.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hello, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, when people will learn that it's not the religion. People keep saying Jews, Christians, Muslims. It's individual people choices. Whoever kills, when people kill each other, that's their individual choice. It got nothing to do with whether they practice, what religion they practice. Religion says,
no, you're absolutely right.
Look at
and by the way, in addition to that point, if Islam is to be judged by its worst adherent, then that would damn all the religions if we approach that. Well, the truth is that if everybody in the world followed the religion of the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, the world would be a better place, not a worse place. The problem is people acting in the name of these religions when they are acting in flat contradiction to the basic commandments of those religions. And that's what we see in all 3 professed holders of these faiths. I mean, Netanyahu doesn't speak for Judaism, and George Bush doesn't speak for Christianity, and Osama bin Laden didn't speak for Islam. That's the long and the short of it. And this has been the mother of all talk shows. It's been, I think, a record number of callers. Tony, full marks to you for that. Thanks indeed for all your help. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, then, God willing, I'll be back here at the same time, in the same place, next week. Come and join me again, and even better, bring someone else with you. Spread the word. This has been the mother of all talk shows. This has been George Galloway, and you have been a wonderful audience. This is London Calling.